Hey guys, welcome back to Chris and Retro. Tonight's video, I'm going to talk about mindset, and this has been a pretty important element of my recovery from addiction as well. So it's been a pretty important component to just about any success that I've experienced. It also seems to be a common theme relative to others that have done real well in their life. You know, I just recently watched an interview with Dana White, and who's the president of the United Ultimate Fighter, and he had talked about, you know, his story where he came from the Northeast as a bellman. And, you know, obviously now he's a millionaire based on his interaction or his involvement and development of the Ultimate Fighting Championship, the UFC. And that was a lot to do with a mindset. You know, they acquired an organization that was really in trouble. They really weren't sure how they were going to do another promotion. And he saw the vision, contacted some acquaintances of his that had some money, and together they all came together, bought the Ultimate Fighting Championship for roughly $2 million, and now it's well over 10 billion. So that was, you know, an element of where mindset said, okay, I believe in this. I'm going to, promote it. I'm going to talk about it. And his whole world became about that. It all started well before as a bellman, though. He realized that this is not a life that he wanted to live. This work as a bellman. He had other aspirations, and the fighting world was really something that he was drawn to and something that he wanted to get involved in. So that mindset and that focus, understanding where he wanted to go, he didn't know how it was all going to play out, but he knew that that's what he was going to chase. And tonight I want to talk about mindset and talk about how important it is to all of us in all elements of our lives related to how we approach things. Now, one thing, mindset, I don't believe it is. And I think that we get too caught up in, you can do it if you try, VICTORY stuff, like everybody's got a cheerleader in front of you. It's more than positive thinking. It's more than iron will. It's definitely not hoping that you can figure something out. It is believing that you'll go to any length to figure something out. It's focus on the thing that you're trying to accomplish with tenacity and with a plan, and not recklessly, if as much as feasible. I think about mindset relative to my own personal journey, and I recall back in 2017, on my way to what I believed to be a life of recovery. I had a pretty strong vision. This is where I wanted to go. Finally, I wasn't really screwing around, trying to hustle anybody, and one lip on the bottle and the rest telling people that everything was okay. I had kind of settled in that I was going to see better days by putting the bottle down for good. And so, as I've shared with you on this channel several times, is relative to my walk forward from 2017 and where it is, how it's gotten me here today. A lot of it had to do with mindset. A lot of it was my belief that there was something more for me in life. And I started to articulate that. It was more than just a thought. So I would, even in jail, some of my scramblings and some of the things I wrote a little bit of music in there. I'd write, letters to my daughter and my kids. And I would jot down plans and ideas I had on how you could, help people with their addiction and getting life back. But the most important thing I put together was something called a life recovery plan. And my life recovery plan had due dates, and I treated it like a project plan for me. And it was going to start. So I got out of jail. My last time incarcerated I was released on March 14th, 2018 at midnight. And I knew that by 7 o'clock the following morning, I was going to hit the ground running, and I did. And I never looked back. That was a mindset. I decided that I was going to waste any time on day one. I was going to really start seizing this life and take it back. And that mindset drove me to accountabilities and plans and a tenacity beyond anything that I had ever exuded, I guess, into anything in my life, because I knew it was going to take that much work. And I recall my father was the one that picked me up, and we were driving home, and I was kind of silent. I hadn't been in that long, but you still get a little bit used to the safety of knowing you're not going to screw up if you keep your, nose to the grindstone. And I was going, a lot of thoughts in my head. Some of it was regret and sadness about, what I just put my family through again. And, a little bit of fear on how I was going to make this all work out, but I was going to, but I couldn't help but have this overwhelming feeling. And I still have it some days today. I probably a little more cynical about it now, but at the time I had this overwhelming feeling that I was going to accomplish something greater than I ever dreamed. And I wasn't sure what that was going to be, but I was willing to open myself up. My mindset was that I was going to open up my willingness and my thoughts and my process to make sure that I could go for every single thing that was available to me. And therein lies that mindset that I do still hold today, is coming for everything they said I couldn't have, but also coming for everything that I'm made to be. That's the other portion of it, the positive side of that. So how do you get there? It's one thing to have this thought that says, okay, well, I'm gonna do more, I'm gonna be more, I'm great. Or so how do you determine whether that's just a euphoric moment, or if you actually are built for more? I think for me, it really boiled down to, did the whole landscape become clear? Were my fears less loud? Was my will to accomplish what I wanted to set up to accomplish providing for me a grit that was more than any fear or any person or anything I would allow to stop me, if I worded that correctly? I'll back it back up. There was nothing going to get in my way. And it wasn't a tough guy comment, because I believe wholeheartedly that I'm not the toughest guy in the whole world. I'm willing. I've said on this channel before, joking, but the thing is, I knew that I would meet obstacles, and I was willing to face them and go through them, because my mindset was that I had something to accomplish and I will go forward. And that still is true today. I can tell you, I can attest that that feeling is still there, regardless of some frustrations and things that have happened along the way. My vision of how things were going to be, I think what we find, this is actually a cautionary tale, and I'll sidetrack a little bit on this. A lot of times when we start getting down the path after those first moments of epiphany and grit and going, once we start, feeling some of the weight of what it means to accomplish great things, we can get disillusioned. It does feel like, well, the more effort I put in, the harder it's going to get. And that actually is kind of how it goes, I guess. There isn't a single hole that you'll dig to build a foundation of something that doesn't eventually get to a place where the rock is there or the bedrock's there. You've got to drill through some stuff to get it so you can actually build a solid foundation. Then when you're building the structure of what your life looks like, that's going to be some work as well, the sweat. And then the finishing work takes forever. It's tedious, it's tedious, but to do it well and have it look well and have it work well, it takes a lot of time and effort. And so it's, building your life is not all that dissimilar to building a new home. And so that's looking at it that way. As we go further down the road, our mindset and our stamina gets challenged. That's where understanding that what we believe in that early state is more than just a positive thought. It's something that in your heart you really believe is so true, and you're willing to go to any lengths to get it. Now, there's a few things that are important to mindset that I've jotted down. I think it's really important for us to talk about. And one is acceptance. So I can believe that my life has a greater purpose, which I actually do believe my life has purpose and meaning. And I do know what it is. And this morning I woke up knowing what it was. Now, some days I'm more tired than others, but I do know what my purpose is. And it's up to me to make sure I stay on course with that. But a lot of times acceptance is one of the things that's an important daily exercise. I had a friend of mine, Kathy, who was early on in my recovery, a friend through one of the 12-step programs. And she brought to light acceptance and how important it was. And boy, has that ever been something that was important to me. Because you know what? I don't know about you, but for me, not everything in my life is as I'd have it be. There's a lot of stuff there that it's not aligning with the perfect Chris plan. You know what I mean? There's a lot of stuff out there. I'm like, man, that is not how I'd have this. But neither here nor there. My mindset and the approach that I need to take on that is accept the fact that life isn't always as I'd have it be. It doesn't change my course. I'm not striving for perfection in any of this thing. I'm striving for progress and along a line that I say is the line that I should be going towards. It is my purpose and calling. Another element that is strong to consider is being authentic. I've talked about me being Chris everywhere. I would encourage you to be whoever you are everywhere. That authenticity, the reason that there's a lot of reasons why that's important. One is everybody knows where you stand. So your boundaries become very clear. People are cautious about violating, your boundaries a lot of times, especially if you're sturdy and where you stand and you will not compromise those values. But at the same time, people know who they're dealing with. And so invariably at some point in your work and your purpose or your calling or whatever it is that you're doing, you're going to get to a place where you are going to need people. You're going to need people around you to help you with what you're doing. They have to know who they're dealing with, especially if you come from a rocky past like I did. There's a place where they have to understand that you are credible and authentic. And a lot of times that just comes from consistency, being the same person everywhere you are. Don't put on a different mask for some other place and then go and be something else. Don't walk around with the Bible in one place, then go back into a bar in another place and punch people in the face. Don't, outwardly come across as a good person and then behind the scenes do all the shady stuff, blowing people in. Don't help people in need and then go gossip about what's going on in their life that gets them in a bunch of trouble. Don't come alongside a hardened criminal and say, I got you. Look them straight in the eye and say, I know you got trust issues. I know you're here because probably a lot of people violated you in your life and you're used to a world that violates you. I got you. Don't look that person in the eye and then go in and blow them in for something they're doing. See what I mean? that authenticity and saying that I'm the same Chris that presented myself to you here is going to be the same Chris that presented himself when he walked out the door. With that, those are effective elements of making sure that your mindset and the things that you're doing, if you're approaching life with that mindset, you're going to accomplish a lot more than you will if you don't. You have to have an unwavering focus, and that is easier said than done. I have a very hard time staying focused on things because I'm an ideas guy. I like coming up with new ideas and new ways of doing things, and so I love that creative process. But when it comes to accomplishing great things, you have to really stay focused. That stamina comes from consistency and stability and moving forward, no matter what, no matter the storm, no matter what's going on, you're moving forward. And that unwavering focus is another important element of mindset. Another portion of it is that, and I read this actually in the book, the one thing that I've shared with you about, but this I thought was another portion of that book that was really important, is that if we believe that we're going to accomplish something great, and we actually believe that is our purpose or our calling or however we want it, that is our one thing that we are all about, the amount of energy should be disproportionate that we put towards that versus any single thing else in our life. This is an area where we all fall apart on this one. I tell you, I don't think there's going to be a lot of people without practice that are going to be any good at this. So I can say this, I can say my purpose and my calling is to make sure that others understand that a changed life can change lives, that your self-destruction is closer than it appears if you don't get off of that high-risk slope that you're on. Hope absolutely is available to you if you just look around you and you keep moving forward with the right mindset. I can believe all of that, but if I'm dipping into 10,000 different side projects and 10,000 different things, and I'm so tied up in all these other things, to give myself an out all the time, to make sure that I've got balance and I can, if anything falls apart, I've at least got this backup plan. By doing that disproportionate amount of energy towards other things that you don't believe is your calling or your one thing, I believe you're setting yourself up for failure, or at the very least, you're not accomplishing as much as you possibly could if you got yourself laser focused on things and put all the energy commensurate with how great this thing is that you're trying to accomplish. That amount of energy should be dedicated towards it. And then the last thing, and I've actually done a video on this as well, but it is important, and that's daily journaling. Now, why do I harp on the journaling? You'd think I'm a, diary guy. It's not the case at all, actually. I see my journal as a flight plan. I've said that before. And the flight plan, basically, I'm allowing myself every single morning the opportunity to, in writing, jot down some notes so that I stay focused on the trajectory that I have for this day. That becomes a second day, that becomes a week, that becomes a month, and becomes years. In the case of mindset, in the case of our purpose and calling, that one day is another day of progress because I kept my flight plan in place here. I was jotting down and my mind was totally focused on what it is I'm set out to accomplish here in the totality of my life. I'll share other elements of, what I believe to be important for success in life. And I've really got three components that I typically draw back on, but mindset is one of the more important ones. It really is about our approach that we go into. If you look at top sports athletes, you look at big, businessmen, you look at pretty much any portion of life where you'll find things that were accomplished in a great way. It had a lot to do with how they conditioned their mind to say, here we go, let's go. We're going to do this. We're going to go forward. And so that's why I focus so much on that. I hope that you find this as useful to you. And remember those components, accept your situation as it is. Be authentic about who you are. Have an unwavering focus about what you're trying to accomplish. And make sure that your energy that you're dedicating is commensurate with the goals that you're trying to accomplish, that they're focused and the energy is equal, or at least equal to or greater than what you're trying to accomplish. And then the last thing is your flight plan, your daily journal. And really, as I said before, the elements that I put in mine are my goals, just things I'm trying to accomplish that day. A few check boxes for workouts and doing my post show and things like that. And then I do something positive about me, something I'm thankful for. And then I put prayer just because I want to make sure that I'm investing prayer in other people's lives, because that's a way that I can invest in their lives without being present with them based on my belief system. Try it. See if it works out for you. If it doesn't, shoot me a message. We'll try to figure out something that does. But I appreciate you guys tuning in the video. I hope this content is something that you'll find useful. Please pass it along if you find somebody that's having trouble getting going on something, or if they're questioning their value or their purpose or why they're here or what they need to accomplish. Or in my case, you got somebody that's coming out of state institution in some way, whether it's a rehab or a prison or a jail, and they're not sure what to do on day one. life recovery, man. Put it together as a plan, put due dates, an accountable person, and make sure that your mindset is correct, that you will go to any lengths to get back what people said you shouldn't have. And I'm saying legally. I have to be careful who I say that to, because people will go out and start pillaging everybody's village. So, anyway, I appreciate you guys. Appreciate the support of the channel. Please like and subscribe, share, comment. Make sure that you're spreading the word about what we're doing here. If you like what you hear, it really does mean a lot to me. Those that have commented and those that have supported what we're accomplishing here. I'll continue to try to grow the channel in ways that mean something to you. Thanks so much, and I will talk to you guys again soon.